Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust.
It's blowing an absolute hoolie outside, so we've sat down and we're trying to work out what our plans might be for our holidays next year in Europe, but we cannot get our head around the Schengen 180 90-day calculator rules.
So as we said, we're really excited because we're at that stage of the year where we are planning our adventures for 2024, and who doesn't love a good plan? It's probably just as good as the actual experience itself.
And last year we didn't have to consider any of the Schengen rules because we had just moved into our little cottage in the Yorkshire Dales and we were renovating it, so we didn't actually go away to Europe very much.
For those of you that don't know us, we're Richard and Jackie, and we retired in 2022. We sold the family home, we relocated to the Yorkshire Dales and bought a renovation project. So last year we didn't really get the full advantage of exploiting the 90-day rule in Schengen, but this year,
yeah, we definitely want to make the most of it. We want to go skiing, we want to have a nice summer holidays. We can't actually go away for the full 90 days at a time because we have got family commitments with both our parents.
So what is the Schengen rule and what is the Schengen area? It's all the countries that are in blue, and you'll notice that the UK is not in blue. So we are only allowed to dip into the Schengen zone for 90 days out of every 180 days. It sounds quite simple.
It does sound quite simple, and we were like, oh yeah, over the next 7 months we want to go away for probably about 90 days, maybe 100 days. That's okay over 7 or 8 months. Until we put it into a Schengen calculator.
And I think if you are going to be doing the calculations and you go out for 90 days and then you come back out of the Schengen zone for 90 days, it works quite simply. However, when you've got multiple trips, and we're looking at 3 trips this year, it gets a little bit more complicated. I tried to put it down on paper, not a cat and owl's chance of getting that worked out. It's just far too complex.
Yeah, it's not quite as simple as looking from day one 180 days forward. You've also got to constantly be thinking about what you've done previously as well.
So a new one for us, we found an IT solution, and we're going to sit down in a minute and try and take you through it as we navigate live through it. It's going to test our mental capacities, it's going to test our technical capacities, and we'll just see how it goes. So welcome to our little mission control. I tried to work all of this out on paper and it just proved impossible because when you are going out for multiple trips, you've got multiple 180-day windows rolling forward. We did find a really nice online solution in 90180.com, and whoever produced this piece of software is absolute genius because I think it makes it pretty straightforward, and hopefully I'll be able to try and explain it now. So you should be able to see my screen, and the basic principle is if I chose to go on a one-day holiday, so I'm going to choose the middle of January, which is where we're looking to go on our first ski trip. If I chose to stay for 1 day in the Schengen zone, that 1 day is in blue, signifies that I'm in the zone, but then that counts all the way through, and it keeps that rolling count of 1 day all the way through to the 15th of July. Now, obviously, a 1 day ski holiday is not really that appropriate, so to get rid of it, I can just click on it again, and then I can start my planning phase. So we are thinking of going skiing from the 17th of January, and then we want to be out of France during February half term, where the ski holidays and the ski resorts get really busy. One of the advantages of being early retired, we want to have nice long ski trips, so we are looking to go from the 17th of January to the 21st of February. Means that we leave the ski resort when it gets really busy and we get the best of the snow and hopefully the best of the quiet conditions. That uses up 36 days. So if you look forward now, when we leave the Schengen zone on the 21st of February, that 180-day count comes down to the 19th of August. So it's automatically extended those days off. But interestingly, up here on the 15th of July, those days start coming off the count. One of the things we've also got to consider is what we did last year, because there's a 180-day count on that, and regular viewers will know that we travelled to northern Spain and we went on the 2nd of June and we came back on the 6th of July. Now those 35 days count all the way through, but they don't actually affect our ski holiday, which is round here, because that 180-day window ends on the 1st of January. So luckily we're okay with that, but it is definitely something that you need to check if you went out the previous year later in the year. So then we want to get a second ski trip once the carnage of February half term has finished, and we were looking to try and go in the sunny period towards the end of the ski season. So we nominally were going to think about the 20th of March and then taking that all the way through to the 17th of April. And as you can see, my days in the Schengen have increased to a total of 65, and the extension of the 180-day window now goes through to October the 14th. So that window has been extended further along. So then we always like to get a good summer holiday, and we want a summer holiday that is relatively cheap so we can take advantage of all the discounts, and the discounts on the campsites tend to stop on the 7th of July. So if I was going to think about having a nice 4 or 5 week holiday, coming back on the 7th of July, and we put a date in like that, so the whole of June, you can now see that those dates do not work, because we have gone over our 90 days in 180 days, and actually those days would take us up to 102 days, and we definitely don't want to be in that situation. So this is where the software really helps. So I can remove that holiday and I can go from the 7th. Now notice on the 7th of July I am up to 65 days, which means that I've got 25 days left. So if I look to go back roughly 25 days, then that works to start with. I could go even further back, so that works. So let's see if we can get another week there, and then suddenly we're into the red zone again. So the day that we look to go on holiday is actually sometime within that week. So we've got to try and find that sweet spot, and I think it's going to be somewhere around the 13th. So we are up to our 90th day. We've used all of our 90 days. If I was going out on the 13th and then look to stay even longer, then the 90th day is on the 7th, and then the following week we would be breaking the Schengen rules, which is absolutely what we don't want to do. So that, for us, looks quite a short holiday. As early retirees, it's 3.5 weeks. If we want to go across to France, we're a little bit limited on our time. But interestingly, the 90-day count continues in the following week. So if we decided that rather than coming back on the 7th, we were going to come back a little bit later, still before the English schools break up, so that's traditionally around about the 21st of July, then we can just play around with those dates. So let's remove that holiday. We're going to be looking to come back on the 21st and see what happens when we do something like that, which again gives us red days. So if we push it a week further on, 21st, but going out on the 24th of June, suddenly, rather than having 3.5 weeks, we actually have 4 weeks that works for us. So if I go for the 23rd, we can pinch a day there. And if I go for the 22nd, we've still got that. So we've got a couple of days left. So I should be able to push that back a couple of days, and we're now on our 90th. So what looked like we were really restricted to three and a bit weeks, we've actually extended it on a little bit further. So clearly this 20th of June is quite a big date for us in terms of when we want to go on holiday. Let's see what would happen, because if you notice here, the day count is dropping down. So if we go out on the 20th, we could still stay there, and we are sitting for 2 weeks on our 90th day. We could actually extend it into August, and you can actually keep going quite a few weeks into August. And that's one of the decisions that we've got to make, whether we decide to cut back a little bit on some of our ski days, or whether we look to extend into the summer holidays, the school summer holidays, where it's more expensive. And there's always compromise.
Yeah, as you can see, it's really, really confusing. And I'm glad that we did go to a proper calculator just to double check the dates, because in theory it sounded like, yeah, it's fine, we've got all the time in the world. Also, we don't particularly book our holidays massively in advance. We'll book our first skiing holiday at some point, and we may not even like being in the VW van for so long in such a confined space in the cold skiing. So we may not even go on the second ski holiday, but at least we know that it's really important to track the days that we do use, because it's very easy to use those 90 days.
And we are going to use this tool as part of our planning process, and we are going to take screenshots as well, just to prove where we've been at certain times, because it is, when you're sailing pretty close to that 90 days, it must be quite nerve-wracking when you're out in Europe. And I think that's a decision we've already made, that we're not going to sit on just the cusp of the 90 days.
And as we said, we aren't in a position to say, right, well, we'll go for 90 days, come back for 90 days, because we can't be away for so long anyway. So for now, it's a good solution to keep track.
One of the things of using the tool that's just raised an awareness in our mind really is when we are thinking about travelling to and from our holidays. We never really considered the importance of the Schengen days when we were travelling to and from skiing, whereas it's actually really quite important.
Yeah, last year we took a week going down and a week coming back, because we just said we've got all the time in the world. Whereas this time we really need to think about getting an early morning ferry so that we can make the most of travelling on that first day and not lose a Schengen day, and then get quite a late ferry on the last day when we're coming back to the UK, so that we can make the use of that day travelling as well. What's really exciting is we've finished all the renovations, we are early retired, and we can now get to the wanderlust part of our early retirement wanderlust and do lots of travelling. It's just making sure that we keep an eye on what we're doing.
And it's a lovely problem to have, and we're not complaining, and we think we've sort of got our heads around it, and it is really, really complex when you first start thinking about it, but this piece of online software has really helped us, and hopefully will continue to help us.
And if we're stuck on the 90 days in and out of Europe, we could always go to Ireland, because Ireland, even though it's in the EU, we can still go to out of the 90 days.
So that's it. Hopefully it's made a little bit of sense. Hopefully I can stitch it together technologically, and we'll see how we go, ready for 2024.
Bye.
Bye.